Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, this is Karen Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Most of us have heard the minimalist concept of less is more. The less we consume, the less we own, the less we keep around ourselves, the richer our experience can be because we're not burdened by the heaviness of this overload of stuff. Can less sometimes be more on spirit level too? That's what Dennis and I are going to talk about today. After the discussion, we're going to wrap it up with a group frequency calibration to help to begin to remove the distortion patterns around this topic. So let's get started. Dennis?
You know, Karen, you and your husband, Chris, have had the opportunity to be to my home in the Midwest. And so you fully understand that the concept of less is more, when it comes to material things, I've got that one.
Totally.
I've got that.
You've got nothing in your house.
People always wonder, when are you going to move in?
Yeah, I know. There's literally like his coat closet, his front coat closet. I open it, there's like nothing in it. I'm like, you live in the Midwest, don't you need down jackets or something? Nothing in there, nothing.
You know, the other thing is when people come over to visit, they don't dare leave behind anything. They're so concerned that, oh my God, if we have to come back, it won't be there.
Oh, I know, because you had a couple squeaky hinges last time, and Tim and Chris, who were there at the same time, bought WD-40 for the hinges, and they hid it from you because they didn't want you to know right away.
See, I didn't know that.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, but we digress.
Okay, so less is more. So very much around the material world, have a concept, but when you talk about it in relation to the work that you do, what does that mean?
So what I mean by that is there are points that we get to when we are doing a lot of frequency work where we come to almost like a forced void, or I'm going to call it a death space, even though everyone hates the word death space because in our culture we're so freaked out about the word death. But it is almost like a mini death in the sense that it's a space of nothingness, of letting go, of where there is a release or a surrender of what you thought you were. Okay, so it's not a physical death, to make that very clear for everyone, because then whenever we talk about death, everyone's all freaked out about leaving their bodies. So I understand that. And I'm talking about a death space from the sense of when we change who we are, it's the death of one version of ourselves and we move into something different, right? I mean, even moving, for example, is a kind of a form of a death space. In a way, it can be, right? Because you used to have a certain life in one place and now you have a different life somewhere else. Well, it's like that, but exponentially more because it's on the spirit level, which then ripples down into physical, mental, emotional space. So, to answer your question about less is more, it's really more about when you enter into this period of void or death space, okay? And I'm reluctant to use the word void, to be honest, because the void for me is something that is very specific, and it's where all creation comes from.
What if I threw out the word vacuum? Does that set with you any better? Or
Sure.
That nothingness?
It's because the thing is, in this space, it is really also, it's not just about nothing, it's about release of something, right? So just like with any natural cycle, like when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon to become the butterfly, it releases one form in order to change into something else. But in the cocoon, there is that letting go space.
So that helps me, because what I just picked up there is it's about the process.
Yeah.
It's about moving to us, moving from this, we talked in a previous segment about stories.
Yeah.
So I let go of my stories.
Yeah.
I let go of this. I let go of that.
Exactly.
And so I'm starting to move into this
new way of beingness, a higher vibrational order where everything starts to change. But before you can get to that higher vibrational order, you need to let go of what you were. Okay, so the reason I'm talking about this is because the more we can let go of, as you said, our stories, our old emotional patterns, our drama, our attachments, our conclusions, our beliefs, our assumptions, the more we can let go of that, the more we can move into this and embody more clearly this higher resonating order that happens on spirit level when you do more and more of this frequency work. When we get into these periods of what I call this mini death space, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's the only thing I can think of at this
Yep.
point. So when we get into these mini death spaces, people often, because our culture is so doing oriented, resist it. They really don't like this space, okay? They want to be doing something, achieving something, checking something off a list. When you really truly enter one of these spaces, the more you try to do, the more you're going to get your ass beat. You're going to try and do something, and then everything is going to conspire, so it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how much activity you do, you're going to be forced into stillness in some way, shape, or form. So it's better when you enter these periods where of intense stillness that we do not fight it, because you have to be in it for a certain period of time in order to release what you need to release before you can move into the new version of things, right? Yeah. So it's important that you be able to do that. So when you're in it, it's important to stay in it and just allow yourself to be still and not force yourself out of it too fast. Because if you try to muscle your way out of it, first of all, it's not going to be very successful. And secondly, what's going to happen is if you manage to somehow force your way into more action, it's kind of like you've aborted the process in a way. Like you shortened it and you don't get to yield the release of or the surrender of whatever it is that you were trying to release before. So you still have the shadow of those frequencies running and you can't actually embody that new level order as well. Does that make sense? It's like if you've poured out this cup of water, right? And you're trying to get to the new order and you're going to fill it up with a whole brand new liquid. But it's still like half full of the old, darker, denser liquid. Well, whatever you pour into it is going to be clouded by that liquid. Does that make sense? Yeah. You have to wait till you dump all the old, denser liquid before you can fill it up with the new, clearer, nicer stuff. Make sense?
And isn't it kind of a ironic twist that we just long for kind of a sense of peace, a sense of calm, a sense of moving into that stillness. And then we start to experience that, and we might get a little, just because we just haven't been familiar with it, and it's new, it's different, and so you call kind of that mini death space or whatever, and so I don't know what that is, so it's an unknown.
Yes.
And so, but what you're saying is that really is very important as part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. In order for you to most efficiently move to the next level. Yeah. So it's to be recognized when it's happening, to be able to be in it. I don't know how long it's going to take. It really depends on you and what the level is that you're moving into. Yeah. If you participate in frequency work, you can move it to some degree, and ultimately it can't be forced. It's kind of like you can't force a flower to bloom. When it's ready, it's going to bloom. Or if you're having a child naturally, the baby's ready when it's ready, kind of thing. You can't force it, right? So when you're ready to move out of the death space, which is dictated by your higher self, to move into the new embodiment of this higher vibrating frequency order that you're moving into, it'll happen. And all of a sudden what's going to happen, what it's going to feel like, is everything starts to gel. So before, in the death space, like people who you normally would go out or have plans with, all of a sudden are being, called away on business, or they're going on family vacations, or something's happening and they're just not around. So there's no one kind of you to hang out with. Like all of your different plans kind of fall away for some reason. Do you see? Like it's sort of everything almost conspires so that you're really still. If you have your own business, your clients get really quiet. Now some people freak out because they think, oh my God, I've just lost all my clients or whatever. But it's actually a period of stillness where everything just stops. And then everything starts to engage again. So now all of a sudden people start to reach out to you, that who are clients, your friends come back from their vacations or whatever it is, work picks up, like everything starts to go into like action. And you're like, oh, now I'm out of it. And that's how you know you're out of it.
So I'm thinking that the reason you wanted to share this topic is just to alert people that is part of the process.
Yeah, it's just part of the process.
And don't get whacked out. Because it's like, oh my, this isn't what I was going to bargain for.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you move from that into this
period of motion or activity. Let's just call it that.
So let me ask you about that space that you're talking about. Do I kind of go in and then for a period of time and then come back out?
No, you go up. So it's more like, I'm going to go into something a little bit more left field, okay? This is a mirror, like as above, so below, okay? This sort of space that happens as we bump up into levels on this plane is mirrored in the dimensional planes as well. In order for you to move between dimensional planes, you must traverse through the void. You must. And that's a period of stillness where you can't tell where anything is, and you have to move into it to get to the higher level. It's similar, but here on the embodied level, it happens sometimes more frequently, and it feels a little bit weirder because it's within one lifetime, for example, right? So, but it's basically the same. So as you're moving, typically this won't happen for you like right away. You'd have to do a little bit of frequency work to clear away enough of the stuff to actually get to a point where you would have this experience. When you have it, then you would ping into a higher level order. You literally would be hold, but then pinging up into a higher level order. So what I do with my hands for the people who are listening to our podcast is that you're here at like, how do I explain this verbally? So you're at a certain point, okay? And then if you bump up into like 3 inches higher than that, stay at about 3 inches, and then you, all of a sudden, as soon as you ping out of the death space, you ping into 6 inches, okay, above that one point. So that way you're moving up. So you're never coming down, you're moving up, especially if you are in that space long enough to yield the harvest or the richness from having been in that space where there's a lot of release.
So the good news is that it's part of the process.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, wow, I should be excited and proud of the fact that I've kind of come to this level. And guess what? The game's not over.
Yeah.
There's more to come.
Yeah, and even, or just allow yourself to be in it.
Yeah.
You know, just be in it.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, well, I guess I'm here for a while. I don't know how long it's going to take, but know what it is as opposed to trying to push through it.
Wow, very good. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group, and each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own.
Welcome everyone to the group frequency calibration for when less is more. So first, let's become very aware of our bodies. Noticing the position of your feet. Do you always have them in this position when you sit, stand, or lie down? Or are they a little different today? Just noticing the position of your feet. And now, please noticing the quality of your breath right now. So is your breath shallow and rapid? Or is it longer and fuller with more depth? Just notice where your breath is. It may be somewhere in between those two. And if you haven't already, taking this opportunity to deepen your breath. And if you're used to breathing into your chest only, notice if you can expand your breath into your belly. Notice if it's difficult to do this, easy, or indifferent. And now becoming aware of your surroundings. So noticing the relative humidity of the air. And noticing the sounds both on your end, around the sound of my voice, and also the sounds on my end. Just noticing the sounds. Good. Notice if you get triggered by the sounds or if they're just sounds in your environment. And now becoming aware of your solar plexus between your belly button and the base of your sternum. And as you become aware of this space, we're going to take a nice big inhale, holding your inhale at the very top for a count of 4. And after you have exhaled, on your own time, you're going to hold your breath out for a count of 5. Noticing the length of the count that you choose. Good. And for those of you who have already completed that breath, keeping your attention in the solar plexus, breathing normally. And for those of you who are new, please note that I'm working on you at the group and the subgroup level. And that I'll be making noises on my end. So if you hear me yawn, even though I'm not tired, or exhale loudly, or sometimes even hum, just know that that's how I remove the distortion patterns. And I also am working more and more in silence as I access higher and higher frequencies. So please know that if you hear nothing from me, I'm still working on you. If I were to make sound when I'm working with frequencies that high, it actually lowers the vibrational level, which is less beneficial to you. Okay. All right. So now that the mastermind has coalesced, that's what we were waiting for, and has become more coherent, you're going to keep your attention in your solar plexus and also bring it to your heart space, which is in the center of your chest in your nipple line. So keeping your attention on these 2 points. And for those of you who are new, if it's helpful for you to put a hand on each space, then please go ahead and do that. And as a reminder, your solar plexus is between your belly button and the base of your sternum. And as you keep your attention on these 2 points, we're going to go ahead and ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of the very center of your body. And as you become aware of or imagine the space at the very center of your body, imagining or becoming aware of a brilliance at its very, very core. And this brilliance starts to intensify because you have your awareness on it. And as it intensifies, it expands outwards through all of your cells. through your organs, expanding out through your bone structure, out through your flesh, radiating out through the pores of your skin into the space between your physical body and your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length, all around you. Yeah. Please notice or imagine the brilliance within the sphere intensifying so much that the sphere begins to oscillate or shake from side to side. And just notice how quickly or how slowly the oscillation is, or if it's even moving at all. And now, becoming aware of the space all around the sphere. And as you become aware of this space, I'm working on you on spirit level to increase your frequency vibration, irrespective of what level you are at. That allows for this session to be the most effective and efficient possible because it's coming from the highest resonating order. And also because you can't come here yet on your own. It allows you to know where you can go. Yeah. Good. Now bringing your attention, please, to your hollow of your throat and your collarbones, in addition to your lower ribs, whatever that means to you. So the hollow of your throat and your collarbones, in addition to your lower ribs, at the same time. Yeah. So the first distortion pattern that we're removing is the mistaken belief that having more, or doing a lot, or accumulating a lot, or achieving a lot is better than releasing and letting go, or even being neutral, that somehow the more is in the doing or having / holding. Okay, so we're going to remove this frequency first. Yeah. Bringing your attention now, please, to your xiphoid process, which is right at the base of your sternum. Your sternum is that big, thick bone in the center of your chest, where your ribs meet in front of your body. If you trace your sternum with your fingertip, it will go from bone to flesh. At that fleshy point, it's tender when you press on it. That is your xiphoid process. Bringing your attention there, please. This is the distortion pattern to the attachment of having more and the resistance to releasing what you have, even if it doesn't serve you. So like holding onto, releasing all of this. Yeah. Nice. So bringing your attention to your sternum, the entire length of your sternum, from the hollow of your throat all the way down to its base. So this next distortion pattern has to do with our attachment to emotion, forward motion, or the sense of forward motion. Sometimes we need to go into a space of nothingness, of stillness, in order for the forward motion to be more expedited, more accelerated, because we need to release stuff in order to move faster forward. So we're going to release this attachment to the speed of forward motion. The more neutral we become, the more effective these periods of stillness or letting go become, which ultimately serves our acceleration even more. Bringing your attention now, please, to the space behind your heart and the spine. So the space between those 2 points. So the space between the back of your heart and your spine. Okay, that's probably a little bit clearer. Yeah. So we are now releasing a distortion pattern of control, right? Of the achieving aspect of things, and facilitating more surrender, or if you don't like that word, softening. Into what is, or surrender only to pure source. And for a subgroup of you, there's a fear of the surrender space. And for others of you, it's a resistance to, rather. And the resistance to is the letting go of this control into this space of beingness. Good. And just for a few seconds, amplifying the frequency of beingness. Yeah. Good. Bringing your attention to your xiphoid process, about 3 inches or 7 centimeters just beneath it. Clearing out, resetting your pain body. Good. This brings us to the end of this session. These GFCs help people release distortion patterns. It's my sincere hope that you benefit profoundly from this series, which is why I spend so much of my personal resources creating these as my gift to the world. If a GFC topic resonates with you, often more work that can be provided in this one GFC is needed to really clear or loosen deeply held distortion patterns in areas that are sticky. Because these patterns are like layers of an onion, usually there are multiple layers to individual topics. Depending on how much of a challenge this topic is for you, it may make sense for you to go deeper than what this session allows. If you feel this is the case for you, please visit sphericalluminosity.com for more targeted support.